Hey guys, it's Jane. I'm here today to do my January wrap up. And I read a fair bit in January, so let's just get straight into it. It was a really good reading month for me. There were no stinkers. Isn't that good? Isn't that good? Now, basically the breakdown is that there are 6 that I read that I would recommend with reservations. There are 6 that I read that I recommend without reservations, and then there was 1 that is the standout, which I'm going to save till last, which was my favourite read of the month. So let's go. Starting with the ones that I can recommend with reservations. The first one was Chris Wooding's Black Lung Captain, which is the second one of the Katie J series. It's the follow-up to Retribution Falls. If you remember, I didn't super love the first one. It was entertaining, but I actually didn't warm up to it until kind of the last third, and it was pretty much the same with this. It was entertaining, but I didn't really warm up to it until the last third. So there's nothing wrong with these. It's just I don't think it's for me. So I probably won't be continuing with that series. The second one was the Persepolis 2. And again, if you remember, the Persepolis was actually one of my favourite books of last year. Made it into my top 5 for the year. Persepolis 2, it didn't grab me quite as much. The story, it's a continuation of Marjane Satrapi's graphic memoir of her life in Iran, although most of this is not actually set in Iran, because the end of the first one is she's being sent away by her parents as a teenager to get her out of Iran. I think the story in this one, it wasn't as gripping for me, so it was a little bit of a letdown. It was still a good read, but yeah, that's what that was. The next 2 I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to labour. I've written reviews of both of these on Goodreads. These are both the first in a series. There's The Strange Affair of Springheeled Jack by Mark Hodder, which is the first of the Burton and Swinburne series. I had really high expectations for that one because I'd heard people talk about it, and I also have a particular soft spot for the Springheeled Jack character. So I was expecting more than what I got. I'm also beginning to think maybe steampunk just isn't for me. I haven't actually had a lot of joy with steampunk, so even though I feel like it's something that I should really love, maybe it actually isn't. So I don't know that I'll be continuing with that series. The second one was Rivers of London, which is also known as Midnight Riot in the States. That's by Ben Aronovich. That's the first of the Peter Grant series. As I said, I have some reservations about this, and I've written about it in my Goodreads review, but it was good enough and I enjoyed it, and I will probably pick up the second one of that series. Okay, the last 2 in this category are 2 that I read as part of read-alongs. So there is The Gardens of the Moon by Stephen Erickson, which I read as part of Caitlin at Kitty G's read-along with the Science and Fantasy read-alongs group on Goodreads, which I'll link to. I've already said everything that I want to say about this. I made 2 videos. The logline for it is that it's big and it's confusing, and I enjoyed it, and I will be reading the second one. But yeah, it's not, if you're not up for epic fantasy, stay away. Basically. And then there was The Summer Tree by Guy Gavriel Kay, which I read as part of a read-along with Sabrina at Stacacino. I actually haven't mentioned this at all, so I should say a little bit more about this. I've read a number of Guy Gavriel Kays before, and he's always struck me as a writer who is very, very proficient at what he does, but just a little bit cold. Like, that's how I feel about it. Like, I've never entirely loved one of his books. I've always admired what he's done and thought it was amazing, but not really been sucked in. This one is actually quite different. I understand that it's quite an early in his career. It's also, all of the ones that I've read of his previously have been set in secondary worlds, which are almost exact replicas of moments in Earth history that's rebadged and with a little bit of magic thrown in. This one is a portal fantasy, and so it starts in our world with a bunch of uni students who are approached by this guy who has an offer for them and who wants to take them back to his world for a coronation ceremony or something. It's a little while since I've read it, and so some of the details are a bit hazy. And they agree, and they get taken by magic back to this world. So what we have in this one is actual, like, human Earth, modern, well, not that modern because it's like in the 80s or something, but contemporary people being translated into a fantasy world, which is the fantasy world in this one is kind of a version of medieval or something Ireland. I think it's got lots of Celtic overtones. So it's structurally quite different to any of the ones that I've read before. It is warmer than I'm used to, but it was also not quite as proficient as some of his later ones, so it's kind of swings and roundabouts. It also felt a little bit dated to me, and this is the first of a trilogy. I am fully intending to read the other two. I'm just waiting for them to come into the library. It was impossible for me to get these books, literally. It was impossible. I couldn't get them as ebooks. I approached the publisher. It's out of print. I would have had to buy them from a secondhand dealer. So I ended up getting them, the first one as an interlibrary loan, and I'm just waiting on the second and the third because it's taken that loan is taking a lot longer than the first one took. But yeah, it was the first of a trilogy and a tight trilogy. So the ending of the first one is it's not really like the end of the story. But yeah, I'm going to wait and see. Okay, it looks like I've really got too much to say to fit this all into one video, so I'm going to break it up. We'll stop there, and I'll tell you about the other half of my reading in my next video. Hope you're well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!